What's going on, y'all? It's Jay Smo Reviews here, back at it again with another video. A very special one to bring you guys today. And as you see by the title, this is my top 10 battle rappers of all time ranked. We are giving numbers to these 10. Obviously inspired by the recent top 50 greatest battle rappers of all time list written by Justin Hunt, the article made by Justin Hunt for BET. Shout out to Justin Hunt, one of the best hip-hop journalists out there. Was a big fan of the list. I gave my opinions in a couple other videos that I just thought was about 90% correct. But inspired me, and I have always been big on shifting the talk in battle rap from Mount Rushmore to all-time talk. Just think it's more of an organizing point in dialogue. For those of you that understand that, you do. If you want to keep talking Mount Rushmore, that's all up to you. Battle rap is subjective, but I like to rank it same way we do other sports. Who's your top 5? Who's your top 10 all time? So I have had this list carved out for a few years, always tweaking it, looking to expand it, but I wanted to share with you guys in light of the all-time talks, you know, who I actually think the 10 best battle rappers of all time are. I always refer to, I think he's one of the best. So I think giving this 10 will just give people more of a view of maybe how I gauge some of your guys' favorites. But before we get into it, I just want to say there is a criteria to this list. And just right off rip, consistency is one of the biggest parts of it. Got to be consistent over time, and longevity definitely plays into that. So longevity and consistency kind of are a hand-in-hand thing. Some people have tons of longevity but weren't consistent all the way through it. So on a case-by-case basis, that can fluctuate. Also, work rate / resume. Resume is humongous. Plays into the level of competition and strength of schedule, which is very key in terms of the catalog you built, as well as the work rate of it. Now, this means you could have an amazing resume, but it could be 9 or 10 battles long. We know a lot of greats that don't battle that much, have great resumes, but they only step out once a year. Work rate doesn't necessarily mean, oh, you got to battle 10 times a year, like we know some battlers do, but we have certain battlers that have about 30 battles in their career and against all top competition. We want to go 20 or maybe 30 and up across the whole career, which still really isn't that many battles, but at that point, you've still seen a varied amount of comp, usually most of your contemporaries, so that's part of it. And as for the last few here, the amount of classics, which really plays into the footage quality, you know, how often do you produce good battles? Do you produce classic battles? And also competitiveness / win-loss rate. Now, I know win-loss rate is tricky, but we're not just assigning records to each guy. Some battlers by nature have a lot more clear wins against top comp than others. Those will be separating. Some have a lot more clear losses than others. So we're not ranking every battle, every debatable, but at face value, if you already come off as more of a winning battler, we can list more wins against top comp. That definitely is going to help your case. And as well as a little bit of impact. Now, I know impact is humongous on some people's lists. A lot of lists get dominated by impact. On this one, there's definitely a hint of it. You're going to see times when I mention impact, but the point of my top 10 is I try to make this about as much about the battles and content as possible. While contributions to the culture, especially outside, people that have managed to go to Wild 'N Out or make their own leagues is great. That's not factored into my list. That's a great contribution. It is great for your legacy, but it doesn't really tell me how great you were as an actual battler. So we're going to try to keep it as battle-based as possible, and it goes without saying. This is obviously just my perspective, you know, how I view battle rap, and I try to put a lot of time to this, but if you don't agree, there's definitely names that we switched around. There might be a couple names that missed the list that you would put on. It's all good debate. I'd love it. You get me at the comments or on Twitter. Debate any part of it you'd like with me. I'm going to try to give my best cases here. I can't go over full resumes. That would be crazy, but I'm going to give my best arguments of why I have the guys in the order that I have them, but my list is not the right list. It is just my list. And without further ado, let's get into the top 10 battle rappers of all time. So, no honorable mentions today, as I might want to extend this to a top 20, top 30 one day and, you know, make it a long thing. So we're going to just stick with the base 10, and starting right at number 10, I have DNA. One of the most, just in terms of peer viewed and maybe faces that people know out of battle rap, one of the most popular in that sense. Over 100 million views, about 160 battles, nearing 170. So the work rate is insane. And then in terms of pure skill set, we all know DNA for the rebuttaling and freestyling is obviously one of the best, if not the best all time in that category. But I think as time has went on, he is one, when it comes to battle rap, people growing and developing new talents. I don't know if anyone's done it at the level of DNA in terms of the fact he is now an elite angler. There was once a point that DNA was not an elite angler. I would say pen game wise, he has a very very good pen. 4-bar buildup DNA did not have the best pen. And when you see these levels, and even to this day, you could debate that 2021 was the best year of his career in this decade-plus career. It just goes to show how much DNA cares about his craft. And in terms of in the ring, one of the first things I want to mention, the PG Killer, deemed by the fans, deemed by himself for his amazing work rate against new talent. And we're going to get into the big talent he battled here in a second. But versus Prez Mafia, when he bodied Ill Will on Gnome 5, humongous moment, Gnome 4, my apologies, humongous moment for him. As well as other battles like Twerk on SM7. These are all dominant wins, and when DNA is up against new talent, Luke Castro even recently, he always shows out, and he carries that same work rate with the top tiers as well, with wins on Av in the volume, which I thought was incredible, as well as Mickey Fax in the volume. Debatably the best performance of his career. 3rd round introspective, talking about what he's done for the culture. And I feel like if you watch DNA's third, he could almost explain in a lot of ways why I feel like he is one of the greats. And then when you get to top competition, funny enough, if I told you DNA has beat Hollow, Sue Surf, and Calico, I bet you might look at me a little shocked just because, wow, those big names he's all beat, but he really has. Now, some of those battles, obviously, Sue Surf very early on in both of their careers. It's not like it's beating Prime Surf, but he did win that battle. Calico on Empire Battle League, I have talked on that, talked in it more in DNA's 2014 review, his Golden Years review. If you guys want to check that out, I'm able to be a little bit more long-winded and explain maybe some specifics of what I love about DNA, especially that year. But he did beat Calico, 3-round battle that did happen. And most importantly, recently beat Hollow Dadan. I thought that was an incredible performance and maybe one of his biggest just clear wins yet. Hollow 3-rounder on a major league main event. And even beyond that, in terms of debatable battles, DNA's dropped all types of quality debatables versus Geechee Gotti, just to name off top. Also has a debatable classic versus Disaster on King of the Dot. And I think the variety in his work rate, DNA obviously from local leagues to King of the Dot to URL, even a little bit of work on RBE. Chef Trez on Bullpen. He's really just spread his variety and resume, and he brings pretty great performances to all this. Now, in terms of losses, what might hold him down under the other 9, early in his career, 4-bar buildup, DNA had some issues. Losses to B-Magic and K-Shine, which were really ugly, really because he became a little bit redundant in how he was rapping, the flow, the cadence, where the Baby Clips comparisons come from, as well as losses to Tay-Rock and Rum Nitty. When he goes up against guys that maybe have better content punch for punch, he tends to falter. Now, I think he's changed that in recent times with great debatables as well versus B-Dot, and as I mentioned earlier, a win versus Av. So I think in terms of difficulty to beat, there's been points of his career where he hasn't necessarily been the hardest, but when you take into the account that he's become an all-around battler and one of the best in the category, such as freestyling, on top of the great wins versus the Hollows, memorable performances versus Ill Will, that's why he's number 10 on this list. And something I would like to add, that I'm going to add for each entry here, is a bar that not necessarily their biggest moment ever, but a bar, one of their bigger moments ever that I just think really defines them well, defines each battler well. So I'll be playing a clip at the end here, just one clip to showcase their greatness, and roll the clip for DNA.
It's round 1, it's getting hot in here. Let Ill Will know my slogan. Hell no. Get that the fuck out of here. I never drunk vodka. Get the yak the fuck out of here. Look at that hat. Get that the fuck out of here. You thought I was gonna lose? Get snatched the fuck out of here. Fuck out of here.
So to follow that up, we get right into the number 9 spot. And at number 9, I do have Averb. Now, some of you might think this is crazy, and if you would ask me this question 3 or 5 years ago where I rank Verb all time, I had Verb a much, much higher, top 5, maybe even a top 3 lock, and I never thought Verb would come out of that spot. And when you look at some of the highlights of his resume, he has some of the best of the best. He's a classic with Hitman Holla. A super could be debated as the best battle in URL history, and I believe he got the winning side of that battle, as well as Hollow the first time around, the 2 rounds. Obviously, they were able to do the 3rd round on SM, which people enjoyed. Kind of had Hollow winning that clear, but I had Verb winning those first 2 rounds. So whether you combine the battle or just count it as one, I do think that Verb has that win over Hollow, as well as Goods. Another great battle took place on Gnome 4. Also, when we talk resume, hard to find a resume that is better. One of the only battler to have battled Mook and Lux, which is, Rock also counts in there, but he battled Lux in the 2-on-2. But in terms of one-on-one matchups, has battled both. I actually had him winning both of those battles, crazy enough. So when you look at just the top part of this resume, Arsenal as well, a clear win. What he did to Cortez was incredible. You think, how can someone have the best of these incredible wins at the top and not be higher up? As well as having, multiple classics. We know Verb having tons of great battles. And what this really, really comes down to is that normally clear losses, in a certain case, plenty of battlers, usually even the greatest of the greats, have 6 to 7 clear losses. Some of the best ever might even be pushing the 10 clear loss number. What Verb has done in terms of the amount of body bag losses he's taken, and really possibly 20 to 25 plus clear losses over the totality of his career, at one point, it was pay Verb, and that was the excuse. And then there was just times he was rapidy-rap. Just there was certain plates he didn't show up for, but he still showed up for the Mooks and the Luxes. But overall, when you look at battles like the horrible showing that he had versus Tay-Rock and Pat Stay, one on RB, one on URL, the body bag losses to K-Shine, Clips, the loss to T-Rex, losing pretty much to all the ladies he's battled in his career, KCJ, Miss Hustle, Bonnie Godiva, losing to a Judge battle to Jims, and without, piling on to a crazy amount, I just think that it got to a point where, you hate to see a legend do it, but after so many losses and kind of selling that part of your brand, I think eventually it has to affect your legacy. And in terms of being the most difficult to beat, I think prime Captain Marketable Averb has an argument for just at peak maybe being the best battle rapper of all time. I'm talking about an incredible generational talent. What he's done for the Midwest was absolutely, in terms of impact, he's top 5. And like I said, it's a hint to impact. When you're at the top of that ladder, that impact is heavy. But in the ring, when you're at a point where years in now, there's a whole new slight of fans that have really only seen for the past 4 or 5 years an Averb that really doesn't battle at a top tier level of consistency. While you have debatables with Geechee in there, even a good battle with Twerk showing up. For some of the better new guys, you have to show up across the board. And as I named before, there's plenty of top tier vets he's lost to, plenty of new guys, ladies and men. Just too many losses, dumbing down his style more to, while I do love the great cadences and I think that's talented, getting rid of everything else, the angling, the punching, really all that content just to rap. I just think he's made some strange career moves in terms of that choice, but he is still one of easily the best battle rappers of all time. If we were just talking peak, I still think he's in those top 5 and top 3, but this isn't a peak conversation. This is an all-time convo, and due to the back half of his legacy, some of these losses that he's taken, I had to put Averb at number 9. Still one of the best, one of the most explosive battlers in all time. And for his signature clip, I chose one that really describes not just Verb, but the beginning of Averb.
Crowd don't mean a thing to us. It ain't strange if I hit that angel dust, get my anger upturned, juggernaut his frame get crushed, shots point blank range, bang, he fucked his soul flying, I'm still firing, even his guardian angel stuff.
Moving right along into the number 8 spot, and at number 8, we have Sue Surf. First of all, free the wave. Before anything, obviously get that man back home to his family as soon as possible. And in terms of his career and other super duper legend, all we're covering in this video today, possibly the best big stage battler of all time. Huge part of battle rap is the big stage, and he has that mastered to a complete T. And you see that in battles like Hitman Holla, nearing 10 million views. As I spoke to before, not a heavy impact based list, but there's some monumental things that have to get those points. And when you talk about a battle having 9 million, will eventually hit 10, versus someone of the competition of Hitman, versus an amazing Hitman Holla with one of his best rounds ever in the first, and to win that battle clear. One of the highest achievements, in my opinion, the best performance of Surf's career, all things considered. Another thing that hurt Surf, I think, for a while, legacy talk-wise, was a lack of clear wins. Mr. Debatable. Although a lot of those are classics, which we'll get to in a second. I think recently in the last 2 years, the 5 battles that he took and getting those clear wins patched up so much of his resume. And I think wins over John and JC are humongous for that. Obviously, top-tier comp that chased him forever, particularly in the case of JC. Extremely impressive win, where even though I think he was better versus John, there's a lot of battles he was better in. He was about 80% versus JC. I believe he said 72% himself. Made it look easy. Won every round of that battle clear. Incredible. Also, when it comes to just the win over K-Shine, as well as classics. Now, I often differentiate between impact classics and classic and quality classics. Impact classic, someone might say a Young Ill versus Sue Surf is a classic. A lot of great moments, iconic, but I don't think quality-wise that necessarily meets up to a classic. But for Surf, one of the biggest quality classic producers as well. Sue Surf versus Conceited, 6 rounds of greatness. Sue Surf versus Big T, 6 rounds of greatness. Sue Surf versus Geechee Gotti, 6 rounds of greatness. And particularly in the case of Geechee Gotti, another super impressive performance, I had him edging that one as well. Incredible battle, and this is all versus top competition. So he's got the classics. He's even got the W's to play into it. Skill set, it's no question. Very all-around battler with an emphasis on performance and crowd control. So what holds Sue Surf down? I think you guys know without me really having to say it. There's just inconsistencies in there, particularly on the choking aspect that just hurts his case. And the problem is it comes versus a lot of top-tier comp. And it's comp that I believe he really should have and could have beaten versus Averb, T-Rex, 2 of those battles. Even though one's a one-rounder, it's not, the T-Rex battle isn't moving mountains. But when you look at battles like Verb, the first Calico battle on UW, battles like 40 Bars, battles like Loaded Lux. Imagine if those were wins, which very possibly could have been. He had great content in those battles for parts of it and just seemed to choke or really be lackadaisical. And I know some people will say, oh, it was off URL. But the problem is that on this top 10, we have a bunch of other amazing battle rappers who have great performances on and off URL. Their consistency, it's not league dependent. It's just consistency. And while Surf made the decisions he made, maybe for business, still carved out an amazing top-level career, maybe just pure talent-wise is up in those conversations, similar to the conversation we just had about Verb. You can't have these moments of inconsistency. Also add in a loss like the Clips loss. There was a time he choked. He still had a great battle with T-Top, debatably won. I had him edging that battle. Then there's battles like Rum Nitty where after an amazing first, he just kind of taps out, and I feel like clearly loses that battle. Incredible talent, and it just sucks it comes down to the inconsistencies because I think pure talent-wise, we're talking about a guy that really should be in the top 5, but you know, he's kind of made those barriers that makes it hard to argue that for him. So, incredible talent. That's why I have him at number 8. And in terms of, you know, his signature clip I want to talk about, I bet a lot of you guys agree this is personally my favorite Sue Surf bar of all time.
No football. These gloves wasn't for baseball. This face mask was for other use. Your mother was at the game. Cardboard colors. Fresh signs. My mother was in pain. You want to speak to the inmate? Press 9.
So, moving right along to number 7, and at number 7, I have Loaded Lux. Now, for some of you that might have seen the criteria in the beginning, some of you might have thought that just based off the criteria, it wouldn't go in the more smack rappers' favor or the DVD era rappers' favor. And some of you think with the criteria, well, why is Lux on here? Well, firstly, I want to say that even though he clearly has limited amount of battles, I believe about 10 to 12 in terms of just on-camera battles we can judge, out of all these smack era DVD rappers, I think he has maybe the best resume out of them. Iron Solomon is also coming, given in terms of the original, I'd say Iron Solomon is also came and gave that a run for its money. But even without comparing, I think Lux has got a pretty solid resume, although a smaller one. You have W's versus guys like Calico, obviously. I couldn't overstate enough how big the Calico battle is for just his catalog. Obviously, the third is the pinnacle of battle rap for some people and maybe the most important and best round in battle rap history. And then you add in things like his rounds from Miles, which were absolutely incredible, completely transcended his time from a wordplay and writing perspective. You could drop those rounds in nowadays battle rap and they would hit, which you can't say for all the footage back then, as well as wins on Clips and Surf. Although the Surf footage isn't the greatest, I think he had a really great first. I loved his first, and I think that as he saw that Surf was choking, he genuinely shoveled the rest in. I think that isn't the way to go. You're supposed to perform all your material, give the crowd what they want. Might be some real OGMC thing that I wasn't understanding, but really think if he completed that, it could have been a very clean, harsh 30 and would even strengthen the case. But clearly, Luxus came out, and he's also come out for battles like Geechee Gotti and like Arsenal, even though I had him losing both of those battles particularly clear to Geechee. I would say out of all of those, back in the day type of guys, he comes out a fair amount. I would like it to be a little bit more, but it's a fair amount. And on top of that, he displays absolutely incredible writing every battle, even in the Verb battle. Although I had him losing, it is a debatable battle, and his material was extremely good for Verb. Plenty of haymakers. Battled Mook twice. The first one is an absolute classic. I have Lux winning that battle and then clearly lost the second. Very storied career, but if that's really most of his resume that I just named, it's very limited. So how does he overcome that? And this is one of those guys that like I said, I didn't want Impact to be a humongous part, but particularly in the case of Loaded Lux, the impact makes it hard to not have him on this list. Purely from just how much he influenced the battlers under him, how many great writers, and there's people on this list that completely emulate and say that Lux is one of their biggest inspirations. Battle rap would not be the developed sport it would be without Loaded Lux's contributions. The pen, just the idea of a pen and pushing wordplay, just writing in battle rap, which is what I fell in love with, the doubles, the metaphors, all that would not be there without Loaded Lux. I mean, there's guys that influence as well, such as the Murder Mook, such as the Reed Dollars. But when you come to a guy like Loaded Lux, I feel like at all levels, he's a main eventer. He really is competitive. Every time he stepped out, even with the bad Geechee performance, I still feel like he was competitive in that. I think he's a warrior. It's really hard to poke holes in his footage for me. And just in terms of all the things that he's birthed in battle rap, I just look at him as that one that everyone that can agree, even we can poke holes in some of the DVD era guys stuff. You can do it a little bit with Lux, but everyone has just a certain amount of respect for him and what he's done for this game. And on top of that, even though it's limited battles, the competitiveness shows versus, a fair amount of other greats. So that's why I have Loaded Lux here at number 7. And as for the moment that I picked, I wanted to pick one of his more just well-written haymakers, regular bars, as opposed to a moment. And my pick is...
Last year you could have got 8. They told me wait. I said cool, this moment's fine. Fuck is Verb. I could have battled anybody in headline, but you know when you know it's time. All these gun bar niggas on a card, but you got best smack still call Lux to fully load this 9, and I'm a...
So as we get towards the top half of the list, right near the top 5, we're one spot out at number 6. So in terms of who just missed that top, that grandiose 5, at number 6, I have Rum Nitty. Considered pretty much unanimously the GOAT puncher in battle rap. Rum Nitty is another model of consistency of the highest variety, and something I said early in the video about work rate, as you get to the top, guys create separation when they have 30 to 40 battles and they're absolute, the footage is great consistently. This is where you start to see that separation from 6 up, in my opinion. And with Nitty, with wins, there's no lack of that, of really at all tiers. It would be actually too much to name them all. But in terms of the key wins that I think are, the biggest of his career, Charlie Clips, possibly the worst loss of Clips' career, the way that he was dismantled in that second and third. DNA took all 3 rounds versus DNA on Traffic. Arsenal, which was on King of the Dot, showing that he's varied, obviously, as a King of the Dot catalog as well, which allows him to spread his resume out. Has went over there, has battled Big K, has battled Chiron, but also battled Arsenal on there and won that battle clear. Very, very good. Had the Ray Rice moment within it. As well as wins over T-Top, and a battle that I think has aged in his favor. Not that I think it was against his favor, but I had him pretty clearly beating Ill Will in the first 2 rounds. I know at the time it was called debatable, but if you guys, would hear me out, maybe you want to rewatch that battle. Definitely a good battle either way. It's worth rewatching. And I just feel like the writing and those first 2 rounds really took him over the top, and I had him clearly winning those first 2. And that's a good set of wins, but the real key to Nitty here, it's actually not the amount of clear wins, it's the amount of classic battles. In terms of quality classics, real 6 rounds of amazing instant classic battles, Rum Nitty might have the most ever. I know Surf is most certainly in that conversation, probably a couple other people, kind of a whole other topic I'd love to do a video on who has the most classics, but Rum Nitty has no shortage with Av, Iron Solomon, 2 of just, to some people, maybe 2 of the top 5 battles ever. Danny Myers, the first time, was considered a classic at King of the Dot. A-Ward, very recently, an instant classic, all-time great battle. Both battles with Geechee Gotti are absolutely incredible. I don't know if either are considered, a full-on classic, but they both might even have an argument, if not both just right outside of it. Just in terms of great footage, it's just a guy that consistently produces great battles. You match him up with anyone, and he usually is able to just punch and bring quality battles. I'd say his win percentage is one of the higher, although it does get mixed up with the debatables, so we're not going to do any, numbers here to say this is his win percentage. But I think that if you just watch battle rap, most of us can agree Rum Nitty does tend to win a lot of his battles. But as you see, he's at number 6 here. So with all this praise, GOAT puncher, why do I have him at number 6? Well, one, I want to say that while I don't subscribe to that he's one-dimensionally, can't do other things, obviously it is a bar thing, and what he lacks a little bit of is material and substance that's interpersonal. I think versus Cortez is a great example of when he did do it, talking about his mother. She died for that money, and so will you. And I think with some of the best, they're able to tap into not just the punches, but that real talk, really making the fan feel the material. While I have Nitty up here, bar for bar, like, just if we're talking the writing, might be number one. I don't know. He's really, really that talented with the pen. There needs to be that moments that kind of creates moments and gets you in these bigger plates. Like I said, he's missing some of those big plates, and some of that is that lack of substance, which then leads to promo and then just lack of that big impact face of the company factor. So while he's amazing, some of those things definitely have to tack him off when other guys have it. Plus losses like Reed, JC, B-Dot, and John. It's not a lot of losses, but they are there. And as for his best bar of all time,
What a dum-dum. I was up in the hotel. Long rounds for cousin. Big rounds I'm stuffing. They stay ill in the lobby. I grabbed the nose running. I'm coming down with something.
so here we are. We are at the top 5, and starting off right at number 5 to start off, this last little run here, I have Geechee Gotti, the face of URL for the last few years, very prominent figure in terms of the way he's been pushed. It's very rare in history that you see a guy just battle everyone and just get the full glow behind him from pretty much 2018 to 2021. Even though there's more to his career than that, obviously, but that 3-year run of dominance, winning 3 Champion of the Years as well in 4 years, what can I almost say to praise Geechee that hasn't been said a million times over the last few years? You look at some of his clear wins, very top-heavy with Lux, recently cleared Disaster, also wins versus Shotgun Suge on SM7 and JC on Born Legacy Supreme 2, very, very good battle. Has great wins, but it's kind of funny. One of the biggest strengths of Geechee also plays in one of his biggest flaws, and that's he is so competitive and has so many great debatables consistently with other greats, and it just goes to show that he can really hang with anyone, consistently produces really, really good footage. Years of battles that turn out to be classy. You look at a battle like Av. Chess was another great one. Both battles with Rum Nitty, absolute classic with Sue Surf. Great battle with Tay-Rock. But while he's a lot that are debatable, you can debate he won a lot of battles. You can also debate that he lost a lot of battles. And the main difference and why it holds him down is that I don't necessarily think having a lot of debatables hurts you, but when I compare you to the guys that are going to be at 4 through 1, I believe they check off more clear wins versus top competition. And when they're clearing consistent legends, it's more just of a praising those guys that do that than it is slandering him for not or slighting him for not having it. And in terms of clear L's, I think in 2022, obviously Judge lost a true foe. Clean battle wasn't the best. I believe the hollow battle is debatable. I have him edging, but a lot of people have him losing that battle clear. So I think recently, he's had more losses, but before that, he just rarely lost clear either, which is a huge plus. The first battle with A-Ward, Arsenal, some of the very few losses that you can really pick out of that 3 to 4 year run that are 100% undebatable. We watched it. We knew he lost. And in terms of skill set, his real talk is obviously amazing. One of the best all time in that category. Great performer. Funny, is able to clown you. Very, very good angler and picks good angles. Extremely disrespectful. And I think even though he's been more simplistic in writing the last few years, you look at his first 2 or 3 years here, pretty good puncher, pretty solid bar for bar guy. I think he gets a little over slandered on that. I do understand, the pen has dumbed down. There is a little more ABC stuff, as people call it. But overall in his career, I think he's been a solid puncher, like that 80 overall type of spot in terms of just writing good bars. But as I said, I think what hurts him is that all those debatables and as you get to the top levels, you get to the Verbs, you get to the Calicos, you get to the Tay-Rocks, one of the clear wins out of these would be really, really great to help his case. Has an absolutely amazing resume, but really it comes down to there's so many things to praise, but these guys, I think, just do a little bit more with their career and have just accomplished a couple more accolades and big moments that they barely edge out. So no diss to him. I just think that, as you guys see in the top 4, I have good reasoning to have him at 5. I know some people might have him at 1, and maybe with a couple of years' time coming out for new talents and things of that nature, he could cement that one day. But as of right now, to be at number 5 in a 5 or 6 year span of your career when some guys have 10, 15 years in the game is absolutely incredible. And as for his signature bar, I wanted to pick one that really exemplifies that real talk. When he gets in that real talk third bag, that type of just bar that you really relate to. So for my pick for Geechee signature bar.
Cause everything in the streets don't go well. My nigga died 10 years ago. His mama still paying the phone bill. Just so she can call and hear him talk on the voicemail.
So we'll get right into the number 4 spot. And at number 4, right ahead of Geechee, I do have Hitman Holla. In my opinion, unanimously the best performer of all time. And I don't even know how opinionated it is. Very similar to Nitty with punching. When it comes to performance, we know Hitman is the guy, number 1 in that category. Big part of that was his battle versus K-Shine, which was marketed as, a battle of the performer title, and he won that battle clear. We all know how that battle went on the return, as well as wins versus Arsenal, one of the more memorable body bags in battle rap history when you take the promo into account as well. And even though it's lesser talked about, I believe the win over Tay-Rock on SM7 was huge. It was a very good Hitman. Watching it back, it was better than I remembered it. And Tay-Rock he was on the lighter side. It wasn't the best rock. But Gentleman's 30ing a decent rock is still extremely, extremely difficult. It doesn't happen that often for a reason. And those are just some extremely impressive wins from him. When it comes to classics, there's obviously no shortage of that either. Versus Bill Collector on RBE, nearing 5 million view battle, and extremely great in quality. Amazing bar for bar action there from Hitman as well as Cortez, back when battles were dropping round by round. Extremely great debatable battle. And Verb, and what we're going to talk about is Verb is kind of on the loss section too. But that's the thing about Hitman is, even though I got Verb winning, I don't really got Hitman losing. Like, I have Hitman losing, but how much can you really discredit the guy? And that is the same result with the Surf performance as well, where it's just 2 battles that, even though the Surf performance, I feel like he showed more chinks in his armor, they're both extremely classic battles. 2 of, the biggest on the URL platform. So if those are on your L's, how many L's are you really taking? When it comes to win percentage, Hitman might have the fewest clear losses out of anyone with a 20-plus battle resume, with, respectable comp that we recognize as, a pretty respectable body of work. Even though sometimes, for some people, the footage isn't the best, just because he's a performer style. That comes more down to preference. Not a very pen-heavy guy, so people that aren't all the way in on the performance might not fully like some of, his, some of his style. And I see some people, leave Hitman fully off. But, like I said, when it comes to the losses here, I have 4 down, and 2 of them are Surf and Verb, which are really some of his biggest highlights too. And really the only thing, the little thing that I could say in terms of who may have gotten the better of Hitman, or what I do believe Calico has cleared him twice. The first time on Snoop's League, Gladiator School, which was more, I believe it was 1-2 rounds, something like that. So it's a little, but they were able to rematch on RBE. And in my opinion, Calico, you clearly won that battle in the rematch. Pretty decent battle, but I thought Cal was attacking him pinpoint, kind of wrapping circles around him. So but if that's really the only thing I could pick out, man, when it comes to Hitman's resume, if he just had a couple more battles, maybe more of an expanded body of work, I would love to see him battle Geechee, Nitty, Ill Will. Just 4 or 5 more names to mix it up. I think that would help his case too. While he still has a solid body of work, there's some people that definitely have him beat out. And also share around that same level of winning percentage with just not that many clear losses and having some top tier highlight wins. So shout out to Hitman. Like I said, the best performer of all time, and that's why, for all the reasons I named, I have him at number 4 and the number 4 greatest battler of all time. And as for his signature bar, he was counted out coming into SM6, and that K-Shine performance stuck with me so well because it had my personal favorite Hitman bar of his career.
Hey, you unloyal ass bitch. I can't believe you. You have the nerve to give a fake 5 to the same hand that used to feed you.
So we're here we're getting right towards the end. We are cracking the top 3, and at number 3, mentioned just a second ago, I do have Calico. Incredible talent, obviously synonymous with Detroit and his real talk, more pure rapping style. And Calico is such a one-of-one talent in my opinion, because punching or really ending bars don't make up a lot of his style. A lot of the best parts of his material, the haymaker level material, is really in the in between and might not even get reaction the moment he raps straight through it. But the ability of him to have real life substance, real talk, like say things in battles that you're really like, damn. I thought a great example of this is versus Fonz. The lesson within, but all money is some money, and that's the lesson's revenge. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, he rapped good, but I ain't lied yet. All these little bars that, yeah, it's not even a lot of times direct, but it just comes off as so real, and he really embodies his slogan of there's a difference between metaphors and real rap. That's someone that really loves the metaphor part of this real rap, but incredible. Actually has an underrated freestyling ability. He left it in modern times, but if you look at early Calico, the whole third he did against Bourne, I mean, the man is really a talented MC all the way around. Incredible crowd control and ring IQ, some of the best ever. So without having a punch style, he is an okay pen, but without really having to flex the pen too much, any, bar for bar, things like that, he's 100 in so many of those other categories. And when it comes to clear wins, this is where the top three, I think, really separates themselves from the field. I have him clearly beating Hitman twice. He cleared Surf in Jersey. Math Hoffa, one of the best body bags of all time on SM1. K-Shine, body bag K-Shine on Gnome 1, beat him real bad. T-Rex on SM, and Aver most recently in SM10. And that's just naming the big, big, big names. And without going into classics such as Tay-Rock on SM5, debatable classics, such as Ill Will on RBE, in my opinion, might be the best battle on RBE's channel, just my personal favorite. So, incredible body of work, and he's around that 25 to 30 battle limit. He's not overly battling, but I still feel like he's faced a varied amount of comp. Has even went over to RBE. He faced Big K. I actually did have him losing that battle, but compared to some other, god tier guys that come out rarely, I consider Cal in that god tier conversation. He comes out still 2 to 3 times a year, which I think is perfect. That's the amount I would love to see a Calico level talent, a Hitman level talent, 2 to 3 times a year. I just think that's the best way to build a legacy, in my opinion. And when it comes to L's, he took some early L's in his career. Rich Dollars, Heartless, I believe really all of our favorite all-time greats at some point, have taken losses early if you look at the game tapes. But besides those, he lost to Lux in one of the more impactful battles of all time. Also lost to DNA in a battle that he didn't try in, but that's on him. And lost to Surf the second time around. And he's lost a few more battles clear than that. But to me, those are the worst losses. And most people haven't even watched the DNA battle. It doesn't make it not important, but we know that there's a caveat, a little bit of a caveat to that. But outside of that, you have Lux, one of the best performances ever in many people's eyes, and Surf most recently on one of the best runs of his career. Calico truly appreciates the competitive aspect of the sport, and he shows that, and it shows in his win-loss and his consistency and longevity over the years without having that punch-heavy style. He's never changed his style too much. He stayed true to Calico, and it has worked throughout all this time. So to me, the third best battle rapper of all time, and for his signature moment, as speaking to the K-Shine battle earlier, he had debatably the biggest moment of his career as well.
Reason the world the niggas get slacked, they talk all this crazy shit and they slick raps, they talk all this money shit like they get stacked, like back in the lane and back in the head, that shit whack. Why the fuck would I pack the Mac in the back of the hat? In Detroit, we ride with it on that
And we are officially in the top 2. This is the runner-up spot. Who do I believe is the second greatest battler of all time? I want to say for 1 and 2, very hard decision to make. To now, I'm not even 100% sure. I do feel somewhat confident in this edge. It's a comment that I've went out and said for number 1. But him at number 2, I think they're 1A, 1B, and I think they're kind of both above the pack by a little gap, where I just feel like these are the 2 best battle rappers of all time, for sure. And at number 2, we have none other than Charlie Clips, Mr. Psych I Lied himself. The style that we can't even describe in words. A lot of guys you can throw in performers, this and that. What Clips is an entertainer. There's really no other way to put it. He can do every level of battle rap. He is able to write. He's able to rap at, Clips, when he really gets into his cadences, is an elite rapper. Is able to clown, pull off angles, create moments out of thin air with his elite freestyling ability. If there's something in battle rap, Clips can do it, and it calling him even all around is, I don't even know, fully encompasses in it. Not only do I think he's the best all around battler of all time, but in terms of being the most well-rounded, I shouldn't say best all-around because that makes it sound like number one. Not only do I think he's the most well-rounded battler of all time, his style is just him. It's just clips. There's no other way to describe it. And in terms of wins, very similar to Calico, this list is unreal. What the fuck happened to Surf Day? Beat Sue Surf clear. T-Rex. Body bag, Surf body bag, Verb body bag on SM1, X Factor kind of body bagged X Factor, Tay-Rock the first time, body bag Tay-Rock, Pat Stay cleared Pat Stay, kind of a slump of Pat Stay's career when he got to him. Not the best battle, should have been a little bit better considering how revered both are, but cleared Pat Stay, even cleared Iron Solomon on King of the Dot. He has an illustrious King of the Dot body of work, an incredible URL body of work, even a solid RB body of work with a Mathhoff over there, beating Farah. Even has great work on Black Ice Cartel. I mean, in terms of God tiers that are outside, Clips is the standard. In my opinion, I don't want to say it's hard to just claim someone the best resume in battle rap history, but Clips has such a perfect balance of the top God tiers no one battles, everyone from the YouTube era. He's going to work his way here, and he's seeming to battle this whole next up class. He's battled Geechee, he's battled Twerk, he's battled Nitty, he's battled Av, and now he's even battled Luke Castro, Yoshi at the easy battles and talks. He will battle anybody, and his win rate, I got to talk about Charlie Clips in the Champion Gold Executive Suite. If you want maybe more of a detailed, super detailed, go over to Jay Black's channel. I'm sure you guys know that channel. Go over there, and we gave Clips his flowers. If it hasn't dropped, it should be dropping soon. So in terms of detail, I could go more into this take, but I think Clips' fall off was greatly exaggerated. Lux, Hollow, Nitty. That is a terrible 3 the way it went out. We would have loved if he had won, especially versus Hollow or Lux. But outside of that 3, while the effort wasn't always there in battles like Will and Briz, he wasn't actually losing all that often. Now, he has lost to B-Magic. Av has had an issue really with punchers. Has been the one chink in Clips' armor, funny enough, is punchers seem to get the better of him a lot of times. But outside of that little, what has to do with punching, and then Lux, Hollow, Nitty, for the most part, even at 70 or 80%, he is debatables with great talent who see him as the opportunity. All-around skill set, like I named the W's for themselves. Classics, the rematch versus Rock, instant classic. Daylight, instant King of the Dot classic. Clips is a pure entertainer that covers the board on all leagues with a very varied body of work. And to me, that is why he's a top 2 battle rapper of all time and just have him at runner-up. And as for Clips' biggest moment, as we spoke to, his freestyling ability.
He said he was signed to a label before. Will you still fuck him? Now, see, you pulling her, and all that's going to do is make this text spark hit your stomach. Now, both of y'all can share those stretch marks.
So, we have finally made it. The number 1 spot. Who do I believe is the best battle rapper of all time? I have said it in many spaces for those of you that listen to any of my other content and other platforms. I am pretty vocal about this one, so maybe you have heard me say it before. But at number 1, I do believe that Tay-Rock is the greatest battle rapper of all time. When it comes to consistency, and now longevity, he's been in the game long enough. There's no one that produces better footage on a more consistent rate. I feel like anytime you get a Tay-Rock battle, you're getting a 7 out of 10 Tay-Rock on his worst day. There's just a certain amount of effort that he puts into his craft every single battle. And as I said before, I think him and Clips are right there. I really think it's 1A and 1B, but although Clips wasn't taking that many clear losses, I mentioned the Briz, I mentioned the Will battles that were the debatables. There was a little bit of lack of effort, which leads to your footage not always being the best. There is a lot of Clips battles that might not be the most rewatchable because he took a third off, or because he just only came at 60%, or just controlled the crowd enough to make it debatable. But with Tay-Rock, whether it's a win, whether it's a loss, because he definitely has more clear losses than some of these guys, but all of these battles are amazing. And if we even go into some of the losses, we look at a battle like Danny Myers, he's very fire in that Danny battle. One of the best performances of Danny's career, but very, very good battle. Sharon, definitely a loss, but he had an amazing second round. It was a very good battle. Hitman, not at his best, but I even thought he was a little decent in that. You take losses like Murda Mook as well, where people had him winning live. The battle's a little closer than people give it credit for. Still have Mook winning. Still have it as a clear Mook win because of things that the content, what they were speaking on. I respect the approach, but I don't think Rock, none of these performances was Rock ass. And then we get into the wins, and we talk about John really pieced John up really cleanly in 2015, won that battle 3-0 in my opinion. Chess stood in front of the best chess round ever with Chess's first, came back and won that battle clear second and third. DNA kind of abolished him, even with a little bit of gas. He still would have won that battle. Arsenal, Ill Will, JC. I'm a believer that he won the first 2 rounds clear versus Hollow on SM6. I think time has really, factored in that battle in terms of bar for bar, one of the better pen battles of Rock's career. And in the biggest moment. And then classic-wise, Calico on SM5. Incredible performance versus Geechee Gotti. That battle is debated, too, for outside, perspective on a situation. But a lot of people think Rock got that second and third clear. I think Rock had an amazing first 2. Twerk, classic. I mean, I could go down the list of great Tay-Rock battles. And there is a lot of debatables. I feel like he has a lot of wins, as I just named. Not that all those were wins. But when you talk John, Chess, DNA, Arsenal, I don't think anyone would debate that Tay-Rock has won a lot of battles. Also, Daylight, a battle that he lost, but super classic. I mean, he brings the best out of his opponents. He always seems to be at his best. There's no one that, in my opinion, it's a better model of consistency. He has a workload on UW. He went to RB, but he's done some more of the local circuit stuff. While he is mainly a URL talent, I still feel like he's put in a great amount of work across the board. And to me, that little bit of consistency and always showing passion and giving it his all, and still having a great record, being the face of the league, extreme impact that we won't even fully feel until Rock is gone. So many reasons that I could double down and ways I could spin it, but I have Tay-Rock as the greatest battle rapper of all time. And in the biggest moment of his career at the time, when he did battle Hollow Da Don, in my opinion, he had maybe his best bar of all time.
I want some other stuff. I'm known for these gun rounds, but I'll put these guns down and fuck you up if I don't knock you out when we knuckle up. Then the razor come out. When I swing it, you get your uppercut. I grab you by your neck. You get another cut and another cut. It look like the seatbelt won't work and I'm trying to buckle up. Boy.
And that will do it, guys. That is my top 10 battle rappers of all time. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. This is by far my most ambitious concept I've done out there, went out there and done yet. I do a lot of history-based stuff, the top 5s and breaking down the golden years. That's really my favorite things to make. They're take a little bit longer to make. This one's going to crunch out about 55 minutes before editing. Try to get that down to like 50 or 45, but like I said, let me know in the comments down below. What do you think I got right? What do you think I got wrong? What do you like about the list? What would your list be? Just a little bit of back and forth. I love any, respectful battle rap dialogue. And yeah, just let me know how you guys feel about the list. I love doing these all-time lists, and hopefully one day I can extend it to 11 through 20, 21 through 30 if you guys would like to see that. And up next, I got to go get the VOD. We'll be doing a review of Chrome 23's first round. If it's not out tomorrow, it'll be out the day after, but very soon this week. Want to go and show the ladies some love. But as I said, like, comment, subscribe, Twitter down below in the description. Get at me on there if you want to talk about this even a little bit more. And it's been J Small Reviews again, y'all, and I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace.